Y'all irritate me when y'all be like, you're Delulu for Blue. Like, no, Delulu for Blue would be me sitting here being like, oh my God, like we're so in love with each other. We're gonna be together, and I'm gonna create this household, and he's gonna never cheat. He's gonna love. Nobody said that. Just because we create a couple good days with the kids, that doesn't mean I'm sitting here like waiting for Blue to come through the door. No, nigga, make an appointment. What are you talking about?
Within a mere 72 hours of wrapping her national television reality dating contract, Jaidyn Alexis officially torched her independent branding and returned directly to Blueface residence. This isn't a theory. It is a documented timeline. While the public register is shocked, the hard data confirms she has willingly re-entered the residential rotation of a man currently maintaining verified, parallel relationships with over 10 different women simultaneously. The financial and reputational fallout is catastrophic, but the real structural shift occurred when Jaidyn went live to address the timeline head-on. She did not issue a defensive PR statement or play a helpless victim. Instead, she stared directly into the camera lens and delivered a cold, factual confession that changes the legal and psychological parameters of this entire circle. Clearly, he's not going to do right by anybody, and clearly neither am I. Industry data shows this is no longer a case of a woman being deceived. It is a conscious, mutual agreement between two individuals operating on absolute operational chaos. But the most calculated escalation occurred when Jaidyn shifted her defensive focus and launched a direct, personal strike against Chrisean, weaponizing real-world family dynamics on a public platform, striking directly at Chrisean's documented custody and parental disputes. Jaidyn stated on record that Blueface's refusal to legally claim Chrisean's infant child is entirely separate from her own household arrangement. In just a few moments, you are about to see the exact archival records and the hidden psychological data that exposes the root of this multi-year trauma bond, revealing precise mechanisms Blueface uses to financially and emotionally block these women from ever establishing a career outside of his control.
It's not a problem. He could get on there today and call me a weird wow, it is what it is.
Let's look down.
Like if I was over here like really claiming him and saying that things are gonna be this way and that way, then that would be me being delusional. But I don't think that way. We had a show together, and then we went and got the kids together, and that was it.
The transition from a messy co-parenting arrangement to an absolute public war zone happened in a matter of seconds. On June 17th, 2026, the digital space shifted violently when unverified claims began circulating across major media platforms, alleging that Jaidyn Alexis was pregnant with her third child. For an audience tracking the timeline, this piece of information wasn't just a regular update. It was a severe reputational threat to Jaidyn's newly minted identity as an independent woman. The response from her kitchen table wasn't a calculated statement drafted by a publicist. It was a raw, high-velocity verbal counteroffensive. Jaidyn immediately dismantled the pregnancy narrative, looking straight into her camera lens to clarify her medical status.
I'm not pregnant. Let's just clarify. I'm not pregnant. I don't know why weird crackhead people think that they need to go on the internet and talk about me when they need to figure out the definition of physical therapy and Fisher-Price. And someone had to say it. I don't give a stop talking about me, and it's not my fault if you don't want to claim your baby. That has nothing to do with me. Why is that my fault?
This specific choice of words wasn't random insults thrown in the heat of a social media argument. Industry observers tracking the psychological warfare between these two households recognized it as a direct reference to real-world medical and developmental realities. By bringing these specific terms into a public broadcast, Jaidyn deliberately targeted Chrisean's ongoing personal and parental struggles, moving the conflict out of the realm of relationship drama and straight into the dark territory of weaponized personal vulnerability. The escalation reached its absolute peak when Jaidyn delivered a line that redefined the consequences of this entire public feud. She looked directly at her viewers and stated, "It's not my fault if you don't want to claim your baby. That has nothing to do with me." With that single sentence, the narrative shifted from a defensive denial into a calculated public execution of Chrisean's public standing. Jaidyn exposed the brutal, unvarnished reality of the hierarchy within Blueface Circle, using Chrisean's documented custody and parental validation disputes as immediate tactical ammunition to shield herself from public judgment. The immediate consequence of this broadcast was a complete fracturing of public alignment. The data shows that the audience was no longer merely observing a standard entertainment dispute. One faction argued that Jaidyn was entirely justified in clearing her name by any means necessary, given the intense level of scrutiny she faces every time she interacts with the father of her children. The opposing side, however, identified a severe ethical boundary breach, pointing out that utilizing an infant child's legal status and paternal disputes as leverage in an internet argument completely crossed a line of acceptable behavior. Behind the scenes, this vicious collision exposes a much larger structural reality of the hip-hop media landscape. In this space, personal trauma isn't just an unfortunate byproduct of fame. It is a highly monetizable asset. The bitter irony of the situation is that while Jaidyn and Chrisean tear each other apart over titles, claims, and parental validation, the central figure responsible for the instability remains entirely insulated from the fallout. Blueface operational structure depends entirely on these parallel conflicts. As long as the women are focused on destroying each other's credibility, the underlying system of control remains completely unchecked. Jaidyn's calculated strike against Chrisean served a dual purpose. It successfully shifted the collective internet gaze away from her own controversial decision to return to the residents, and it reestablished her position as the primary, unfiltered voice in Blueface's immediate orbit. But the structural damage to both brands is permanent. By reducing a highly sensitive family dynamic to a viral punchline, Jaidyn unknowingly set a precedent that ensures this cycle can never de-escalate. The conflict has evolved past a simple fight over a man. It is now a grim, public race to see who can leverage the other's real-world trauma more effectively for survival in the digital arena. The immediate public fallout of the live stream leaves a glaring contradiction wide open. On the surface, Jaidyn Alexis projects an image of absolute, unbothered control, a woman who sets appointments, demands boundaries, and matches her partner's toxic energy step for step. But beneath this aggressive public defense lies a documented paper trail that reveals a completely different psychological reality. To understand why an independent reality star returns to a 10-woman roster within 72 hours of her show ending, the timeline requires a look backward, away from the viral clips and into an archived piece of media that strips away the entire performance. 2 years before this latest explosion, Jaidyn Alexis sat down alongside Blueface for an interview on The Jason Lee Show. The footage, which resurfaced across media networks immediately following her recent live stream, acts as a structural roadmap for her entire relationship. When asked directly on record why it was virtually impossible for her to walk away from a situation that consistently humiliated her in public, Jaidyn did not offer the fierce defiance she displays today. Instead, she admitted to a profound, multi-layered emotional investment that overrides logical self-preservation.
No, I'm not saying he's someone.
All right, tell you the truth.
No,
tell him why you
no. I'm not saying nothing. There's not. Honestly, I don't really know if I have a real reason why. Maybe I've just been so invested in, when I leave him, I'm just like kids, and getting myself together, because how am I going to even pursue somebody else
she be playing with little girls late at night?
How can I pursue any real relationship if I'm not even healed from this? Mm-hmm. Because even if I wanted to move on, he's still creeping back. Even if he's taking serious, he's still creeping back. So it's that sets me back. That sets me back. You know what I'm saying? I'm emotionally invested to him. So it's
call
it
me
sets
Bobo
me back.
Yeager, Jason.
I'm
like the boogeyman late at night.
I'm emotionally invested to him. So it's how he's saying, "Oh, I creep back." But for me, it's not that, because I'm emotionally invested in him already.
The core of her admission exposed a deep-rooted psychological pattern. Jaidyn stated on the record that she grew up entirely without a stable father figure or a structured family environment. I think that I value having a good father figure for my kids, and I think that I value just having the stability that he gives me. She explained, the structural consequence of this childhood void is catastrophic for her adult boundaries. By her own admission, Blueface provided a baseline security she had never experienced in her youth, creating an environment where operational reliability in times of crisis completely masked the emotional volatility of his parallel relationships. The psychological data changes how our current Sunday Funday actions must be analyzed. Jaidyn openly confessed that her internal valuation of a family unit is so intense that she is willing to accept extreme weekend volatility as long as the calendar holidays remain intact. She spoke about dressing in matching Halloween pajamas, cooking Thanksgiving dinners, and securing a father figure who shows up for Christmas. In her economic and emotional calculation, enduring public humiliation on a Saturday night is a fair trade for securing a stable holiday photo on December 25th. This isn't a story about a woman being fooled by false promises. It is a documented reality of a woman consciously bartering her public dignity for pieces of a childhood dream she never had. The long-term consequence of this structural arrangement is a highly specialized trauma bond that Blueface has masterfully exploited to maintain his operational system. By understanding that Jaidyn's primary vulnerability is a fear of family dissolution, he can engage with an infinite roster of parallel women without ever facing the permanent departure of his primary co-parent. Jaidyn herself highlighted this cycle during the interview, admitting that whenever she attempts to heal, detach, or focus strictly on her children, Blueface acts like a psychological anchor, creeping back into her space late at night to reset her progress back to zero. Public analysis of this archival data has completely reframed the current backlash. While detractors continue to label her actions as a complete lack of self-respect, clinical and industry observers note that her behavior is the exact execution of an unresolved childhood coping mechanism. She has normalized a toxic domestic cycle because she views his monetary and physical presence during major milestones as a form of absolute loyalty, completely separate from his sexual and romantic interactions with other women. This dual reality system allows her to state today that they are both single and on the same page, while completely ignoring the fact that the page they are on is actively destroying her commercial viability. This brings the entire timeline into a terrifying focus. Jaidyn Alexis isn't fighting Chrisean Rock over a simple rumor, nor is she fighting the public over an internet comment. She is fighting to protect the fragile, engineered illusion of a stable household that she has spent her entire adult life trying to build from the ruins of her childhood. But just when the public thought the psychological dust had settled, and that Jaidyn was simply resigned to living out this endless loop in silence, a highly classified detail from production set her own dating show leaked to the press, changing the entire trajectory of who was actually pulling the strings behind her brief bid for freedom. The illusion of Jaidyn's independent media career shattered completely when the production timeline of her own dating show collided with reality. Verified industry records show that Finding Love for Jaidyn was heavily marketed as her official brand attachment from Blueface. However, public statements from season 1 contestants blew the situation wide open. A prominent contestant went on record, directly accusing Blueface of acting as an uninvited roadblock, stating that while Blueface was entirely absent during active filming, he stepped in the exact moment production wrapped to systematically dismantle Jaidyn's progress and reclaim control. This revelation exposed a massive industry fallout. Online theorists immediately began speculating that the entire reality show was leveraged by Blueface as a calculated content play to generate revenue, knowing he would reset the boundary back to zero post-production. While that remains a theory, the documented consequence is factual. The commercial viability of a second season has been severely compromised. Industry observers note that higher attention dating shows rely entirely on the audience's belief in the star's autonomy. The moment the public realized Blueface acts as a permanent shadow cast member, the commercial value of her independent brand plummeted. Public reaction across digital platforms has shifted from standard entertainment gossip to absolute exhaustion. Commentators argue that this pattern creates a dangerous precedent for reality television marketing, where a woman's public pursuit of independence is ultimately exposed as a tactical loop to drive engagement back to a toxic household. The structural reality is clear. Jaidyn didn't just backslide on a relationship. She fundamentally compromised her leverage as a solo entertainment entity. The current reality of the situation leaves no room for heroes. Jaidyn Alexis has officially cleared the timeline. She is fully aware of Blueface's parallel relationships with over 10 different women. She has publicly used Chrisean Rock's deepest maternal trauma as defensive ammunition, and she has openly admitted that she has no intention of doing right by anyone either. The narrative has completely evolved past a victim story. It is now a documented, mutual pact operating in absolute chaos for the sake of public relevance and a baseline version of stability. But the ultimate mystery that remains entirely unsolved is the long-term cost of this loop. As Blueface continues to manage his parallel roster behind the scenes, we are left with one critical question. Is Jaidyn's decision to stay for the sake of childhood-inspired holiday stability a calculated survival tactic, or has she completely traded her long-term commercial autonomy for the bare minimum? What do you think is the real driving force behind this endless cycle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as we continue to strip away the PR shields and unveil the hidden truths behind the industry's most calculated dynamics. Because in a world where public humiliation is the primary source of income, the true danger isn't losing the game. It's forgetting that you are the one trapped inside the cage.